In this particular question, we have some information given to us as a part of the question premise, and we have to evaluate a particular inequality, right? Now, the information that we know from the question premise is a and b both are integers. Of course, they can be positive, negative, or zero, so I'll take a note of that. The second information that we know from the question premise is mod of a is greater than mod of b. So if I have to sort of reflect this information over a number line, we can have a here or a here, which means we can have a either towards the positive side of the number line or to the negative side of number line, and b will lie between a and the mirror image of a. So let's say if a is positive, a is out here, a is positive, the mirror image of a is negative. And if a is negative, the mirror image of a is positive, and b will be an integer value which will be between a and minus a. One thing that we can further infer here is a will not be equals to 0, because if a is equals to 0, mod of a is equals to 0, and 0 cannot be greater than a positive value. So with that analysis done, let's move to the question. So the question asks us if a into mod of b is less than a into b. So we have a multiplicative relationship, a into mod of b, and asked we have to find if it is lesser, the value is lesser than an additive relationship, that is a minus b. Now this is a pretty complex equation, so I wouldn't really worry too much at this point of time. We can move to the question. Sorry, we can move to the statements and then use the statements to find if this relation holds true and under what circumstance. So the first information that we know is a is less than 0, which is a is a negative value. Now, if a is a negative value, it will lie to the left of 0 on a number line. So I'll quickly draw some points. It is minus 1, 1, and positive 1. And let's place a here. Let's place a to the right of, sorry, to the left of minus 1, which means a is further negative than 1 is. So a is out here, right? Now, couple of things that we can look at now when we try to evaluate this expression, a into mod of b is less than, is it less than a minus b, is if b is either minus 1 or 1, the value of a into mod of b will not really change, right? Now, before we go in there, I'll also draw the mirror image of a, that is minus a here. Now, again, minus a will be greater than 1 because a is less than minus 1, and we have already seen, right, that b will be a value out here. So b can definitely be 1 or minus 1. Now, as I was talking through, right, if b is 1 or minus 1, the product of a into mod of b is same, while the difference between a and b will now be will have different values, right? So we can look at this particular information. We can tap into this particular kind of information and see what it means to us. Now, if b was at minus 1, the value of a into mod of b will be same as that of a, while the difference of a and b will be 1 unit less negative, or it'll be 1 unit more positive, in other words, than the value of a. Now, if we are not able to kind of really infer this in terms of the the expression, let's take some value. So let's say we have a is equals to minus 2, b is equals to minus 1, and that's what I said, b lies in here. So b is equals to minus 1, and the product A into mod of B is same as the value of A, that is minus 2, while the difference of A and B is 1 unit less kind of negative, or 1 unit positive than the value of A, which is nothing but minus 1. So in this case, A into mod of B is less than A minus B. Now, in the second case, the value of A into mod of B will be equals to minus 2. And the second case is the one that wherein B lies in here. So A into mod of B will be equals to minus 2, while the difference between A and B will now be kind of more negative. It will be the distance sort of has moved towards a negative side. So A minus B will be now equals to minus 3. So in this case, A minus B is less than A into mod of B. So we have two contradictory answers based on the information that we know in statement 1. So statement 1 alone is not sufficient to answer, and we can eliminate A and D. Now moving to statement 2, which is A into B is greater than or equals to 0. So this statement tells us two things. The first thing is A and B are of the same positive negative sign. So we have the same positive negative sign. The second statement tells us that whatever the value of A is, we don't care about it. B is equals to 0. Of course, A cannot be equals to 0, which we have already established out here. So B can be equals to 0 because the product of A minus B is equals to 0. Now the first statement wherein A has the same positive negative sign is something that we have already evaluated in this case, right? We in this case both A, or let me do it here. In this case both A and B had the same positive negative sign. So we have already evaluated this case. So we can skip evaluating this statement, and we can say that if A and B has the same positive negative sign, we know that A minus B, sorry, the product of A into mod of B will be less than A minus B. Now what if A is equals to, sorry, what if B is equals to 0? And let's assume that we keep the position of A where it was. So A is still it's still a value which is less than minus 1, and let's, for the sake of discussion, say A is equals to minus 2. If A is equals to minus 2 and we know that B can very well be here, B can be at 0, the product of A into mod of B will be equals to 0 because the distance of B from 0 is 0, so the product is now 0. However, the difference of A minus B is minus 2. So in this case, we now have A into mod of B greater than A minus B, right? So this is the expression that we get. So we again have two expressions out here. One in which A minus B is less than, A minus B is greater than A into mod of B, which is this particular expression. And the other is this one, whereas A in minus B is less than the product of A into mod of B. So statement B, sorry, the statement 2 alone is also not sufficient, and we can eliminate B. Now we do not have to evaluate the statements combined because we have been doing so all this while, right? So in both of these cases, A was less than 0. So we have taken A is equals to minus 2. Even here A was equals to minus 2. And we have evaluated both of these information. So we evaluated this information and this information as a part of statement 2 itself. So combined also we have no new info, and the statements combined will not help us. So the answer is option E.